Hello, my name is Catherine Moore, social worker, mom, coffee lover, and founder of Social Workers Rise, where we inspire social workers to connect, expand their knowledge, and change more lives than they ever thought possible. I'm so excited you found my podcast. We will talk everything social work on every level from micro to macro. We will hear the stories of social workers who are doing big things, learn new skills, and most importantly, give you actionable steps to make a difference today. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Social Workers Rise. It is your host, Catherine here. I am so excited and so grateful that you are here with me today. So I cannot believe that it is almost Thanksgiving. What the heck? This year went by so fast. I feel like it was almost like a whirlwind. There's so many things that happened this year, a lot of really great things that happened, at least for me and for Social Workers Rise. We, in case you haven't heard, we have actually been named one of the top 10 social work podcasts in the world. What? When I heard that, my mind was blown. That is so wild. So I'm so grateful. And I'm really grateful to you if you've ever reached out or just given me a little note about what you enjoyed about the episodes or how the conversations here have helped you in your social work career. I've heard from multiple people that it's just helped to open their mind to the possibilities of what you can do with your social work degree to really inspire them to think bigger than what they're currently doing and to dream bigger. And that is such a beautiful thing. It gives me chills just thinking about the untapped power that we have as social workers. And this week is Thanksgiving. So, of course, I am reminded of all of the things that I am thankful for, and practicing gratitude. It is one of the healthiest and most energizing thing that we can do for ourselves is to just pause, reflect, and be thankful, be grateful for the things that you have accomplished, for the people that you have met, for the experiences that you've had, both good and bad. And I'm especially grateful for social workers because you show up day after day for people who society has basically shunned. You hear of difficult situations and conversations that need to be had, and you say, sign me up. This is what I have been trained for. And most of society would say, ugh, I don't want to get involved with that. But you, my friend, you are different. You say, oh my gosh, yes, let me please do what I can do to try to help the situation, to try to help this person, and let's really maximize on their strengths. And the people that we work with a lot of times, especially when we're in the government, in the county, working with kids who, have had trauma and that comes out in behavior issues, working with people who are homeless or have struggled with addiction. A lot of times society has written them off. And you, on the other hand, say, no, there's healing that can be done here if the person is ready and open and willing. So I think that is such a beautiful thing. And I'm just so grateful for you and the work that you do and the energy that you give to everybody during your work. You are a giver. And a common theme that I've seen is that social workers just love to give of themselves. They love to love on others. And we often do this at the expense of our own love or our own self-care, right? Which self-care I think is such a shallow word. It doesn't encompass the deep amount of soul care that we really, really need when we encounter these people in difficult situations who may be struggling and just need more tools and how to help themselves. So we really, really need additional support. And that kind of leads me into our guest for today. Our guest for today is actually a business coach, and she is also a social worker, Nicole Liloia. Totally butchering it. Nicole Liloia. And I'm sorry, Nicole, if I said that wrong. But we're talking with Nicole about how we self-sabotage. And of course, it's not intentional, but it really boils down to like the stories and the beliefs that we have or that we've learned or that we have been exposed to throughout our lives, and especially during our time as social workers in social work programs. What are these stories that really play in our minds, and how are they really impacting our lives, our success, and our income? Because let's be real, social work is expensive, and we need to make the income that we deserve. We are extremely valuable in the workplace, and Nicole is such a beautiful soul because she really helps her clients recognize their value and really how to make the most of that. She has a whole program that she'll talk about. But I'm so excited to hop into this. Before we get to Nicole, we're going to hear a short ad from the sponsor, which is the Rise Directory, which is another awesome thing. I completely didn't even mention another awesome thing that's happened this year is we launched the Rise Directory. And this has been such a labor of love of mine that when I started looking into providing clinical supervision, it's a hot mess. Okay. Each state is different. And then if you're a social worker, it's different than if you're a counselor. So I really just wanted to focus in on social workers specifically to connect them with other social workers, other LCSWs who can provide clinical supervision. So the way the laws are set up right now, I actually can't provide clinical supervision, which sucks. But I think that it is a really, really good thing because it allows me to build out this. I think it's going to be like an association type of program. Right now, it's a membership site for clinical supervisors in the United States who are open to supervising social workers. So, with that said, you don't necessarily have to be an LCSW to join, depending on your state, right? So, I know Florida, for example, you can only be supervised by a social work LCSW. However, here in California, you can get a portion of your hours by a psychotherapist or by a counselor or by someone other than a social worker. But there is still a large percentage of your hours that you need specifically with an LCSW. So you can join the directory if you are able to supervise social workers in your state. And that is a beautiful thing. I'm so excited for it because we need these connections. We need these relationships. We need these resources for clinical supervisors too. Because I was doing the research, there's really not a whole lot of resources or tools specifically geared for clinical supervision. I mean, there's a lot for doing therapy and different modalities. However, when it comes to our core foundation of our practice, there's it, it's minimal. It's disappointing. It's disheartening. And I am not okay with this. And we're going to do something about it. So, the Rise directory is one, starting as a directory. Two, we're building out our library of resources on the website. I have a team to help me with that because I'm not a tech person, you guys. I do my best, but it is a struggle. So I need people to help me. And then if you have resources that you have either used during your clinical supervision, or if you are a supervisor and you have tools that you especially like, even if you have a contract that you came up with, a way for tracking your hours, any of these little tools that you have can really, really help a lot of people. Definitely feel free to send them my way. The contact links are in the show notes. So I know this is a longer introduction than normal, but I just wanted to give you a little update on how we've been, how grateful I am for you, and also too, I want to let you know where we're going. So next week, we're going to be talking about the power of breath work and really embodying self-care. After that, important update about the student loan forgiveness program. They made some changes today. We're going to find out what that is starting in December. And then the rest of December is going to be updates about the field of social work that have come out, different studies and research and numbers about how are we doing as an industry, and really, how to set goals going forward. So I'm not going to wait until January to start setting my goals or to start thinking about it. So at the end of December, we're going to do a talk on that, on what that looks like for you, and how to set goals that you want to keep, that you're passionate about, that you're energized about, and get you a little strategy for doing that. So that is it for the intro. Let's listen to this quick ad and then we'll hop right into the interview. Let's go. This episode is proudly brought to you by the RISE Directory, a national directory of clinical supervisors who are dedicated to helping the next generation of clinical social workers grow in their clinical skills. The link is in the show notes. Check it out and tell every clinical supervisor you know about this directory. Hello, Nicole. Welcome to the Social Workers Rise podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad we were finally able to connect after, months of kind of going back and forth on social media. So here we are. We are, this episode will air, just in time for the new year. So we are perfect. Sorry, let me rephrase that. This is the perfect topic to go forward in the new year, overcoming sabotage, because there were so many things that happened in 2020, 2021 that may have unknowingly led to our own sabotage, or just areas that we can improve on going forward in 2022 to really just level up, accomplish our goals, and just be successful, or just be less stressed out and enjoy life more.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this topic because I think too, as social workers, and I'm sure there's some counselors out there too, I think that we're so focused on others and taking care of them and taking care of their mindset and making sure their needs are taken care of. Ours get put on the back burner, and we do unknowingly have ways we self-sabotage our ability to go after what we want.
Yes, yes. Our empathy and caring for others is a strength until it turns into our biggest weakness.
Yes, absolutely.
So first, let's start off. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I am actually now a business consultant and strategist for primarily women service providers. So a lot of therapists with their own private practice, other health and wellness professionals, who have a business, are providing services as their business, taking care of others. And I help them actually create more income and grow their business, so that they can actually support more people and make more money, but without working harder. which is something again that goes exactly against our training in grad school and places like that, or our agency jobs. If anyone has an agency job like I did, where it was like, see more people, do more paperwork. It's not more hours, it's not more pay. It's just like increase everything, make your life harder, make your job harder. Um, and get very little money for it.
Yes, that triggered so many different thoughts for me. I mean, one, it's not just our agencies, but it's America, right? That's a
Mhm.
culture that we are brought up with, like work
Mhm.
hard to be successful, but
Mhm.
that's not necessarily true.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and then when we do that at work, when our boss is like, oh, see more people, do more, do it faster, but we're not going to pay you anymore. And then they gaslight you into thinking that it's your fault for not being efficient, for
Mhm.
not working fast enough, and maybe you're not cut out for this field. And it's just a terrible cycle.
Yeah, and I mean, I think even too, not even just the like financial piece and the financial stress when we're paying off massive grad school loans. Like, I went to Columbia, I left with, over, $80,000 worth of grad school loans. And then my first job, and you needed a master's degree for it. I was making $37,000 in New York City. I had to have 5 roommates just to be able to afford a place to live. And, you just can't even financially invest in your own self-care. Um, you come home and you're burnt out, and it's hard to even afford to get dinner out with friends. Or, back then I definitely was never, even getting my nails done, or, you know, investing in exercise or anything like that, or wellness. And I didn't have money for vacations. So I think that truthfully, not only does it make it hard for us to live and struggle financially, like again, we can't even replenish ourselves. And not to say that everything, to replenish ourselves costs money, but like, why can't we even spend money to replenish ourselves?
Yeah, it's true. There's so many different different topics that you're touching on as far as
Mhm.
like low pay and overworked and all of this leads to burnout, right?
Yes.
Because,
Mhm.
as you as a new person out of grad school, you're trying your best, but honestly,
Mhm.
you have to work your tushy off in order to just survive.
Yeah. And truthfully, and what ends up happening is for those of us, so many of us social workers, like I was a clinical social worker. So, my first job was an agency. I had to, in New York, work there I had to make sure to have 3 years of clinical experience and supervision in order to qualify for my LCSW, which meant that I would be able to have a private practice someday. And, I don't even know if that time, I don't remember. I remember I for sure wanted that option and saw it as a possibility for my future, but I wasn't necessarily um focused on that, but I still obviously, wanted to hit that next level in my career. So, but now I work with a lot of, again, social workers and counselors. And what happens, unfortunately, we move into our own business. And this is sort of what happened to me. We move into our own business because we want freedom, we want flexibility, we want to recover. Most of us have severe burnout, from those jobs. We weren't supported. I mean, I know some people obviously are very lucky and get good support and supervision, but unfortunately, like the leadership at my agency sucked. Like they didn't support us, they didn't help us become leaders. And if you kind of address struggles or things that you saw that could be done differently, like they sort of pushed it under the rug and like didn't support you in changing things, which I think is hard because again, we are, as therapists and social workers, we go out there to make a difference and then we're sort of, not encouraged to. So it really does affect us, just energetically. It causes burnout. It makes us feel unheard, and it does like affect our own self-worth and self-esteem, which is sometimes why we sabotage our opportunities for more success later. And, so that's really a big piece of why I do what I do now.
Yeah. So what do you mean when you say sabotaging? Like what does that look like? What exactly do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, so when I talk about sabotages, I talk a lot about like mindset blocks and money blocks. And there's just these like beliefs we have. Like, again, when I was in grad school, we heard a lot from professors and, our supervisors and stuff that like there's no money in social work, right? Like there's
Mhm.
no money in social work, and you're doing it to help people, and like people who make money are selfish and things like that. So you start to kind of get these beliefs that you don't even realize it's like could be a false belief. You just really see it as truth and reality. So then maybe when you go into a job or when you start your own business, like you sabotage yourself because you don't believe you're worth more money. So you can really sabotage again your ability to charge well for things, to get fees you deserve, to feel like you need to take on any client, things like that. We set ourselves up for more stress. We sabotage, our opportunities for more flexibility because we kind of just repeat what we've learned without realizing it.
That is so wild that you said that because all of those toxic narratives that you just listed out, I am in California and I felt that too. So this
Mhm.
is, an industry, probably worldwide
Mhm.
conversation that's happening. And that was a big reason why I started this podcast because I was about to quit. I was so sick and tired of not being paid good, of just feeling like I should be, quote, should be burnt out to be
Mhm.
a good social worker. It means I'm not working hard enough or something. I don't know. It sounds wild to
Yeah.
say, but it's so true. And I was like, this is complete BS. Like this
Mhm.
needs to change. And we deserve so much better.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think too, and I'm from, I lived in New York City at the time, and I live in New Jersey now, right outside of New York City. So for sure, in general too, there is that push, push, push lifestyle
Hmm.
in general that is exhausting. And I think again, like we unknowingly set that up. And I remember, like, just a little bit more about my backstory. Like I did last at that job for 3 years, and like it wasn't just me that was miserable, it was all my coworkers that were miserable. So it wasn't just like a me issue, but also that ends up contributing to the burnout and the belief, because you know how it is. Like you go out to happy hour with your coworkers, you talk to your coworkers every day, and then you go out to happy hour. I love to socialize with my coworkers and become friends with them, but then you're like bitching about work outside of that and your boss and how unsupportive it is. So like you're kind of just like continually exposing yourself to that narrative over and over again. Um, and I did leave my job, and after I got the 3 hours for the clinical license, I left. I took time off to travel and volunteer in South America, and I kind of was just like, I'm gonna have to come back, I'm gonna have to get a job again, in an agency. Like I wasn't really looking at a private practice at that time. I was also just trying to get my license transferred to New Jersey, which, like, if I'm sure in every state the boards suck. And like this was again, like it wasn't even like it wasn't like it was 1980, but like I literally like had to call up for an application, which like you can't get through to anybody, or I had to write a letter, and I was like so resistant
Write a
writing the
letter.
letter, because I was like, are they kidding? I have to be able to get through on a phone, and why isn't it online so I could just print it off? This is insanity. But no, like literally, I was so burnt out. And I think this like was a sabotage, but also a protector, was that like I didn't have the energy to write the letter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I did not have the energy to write a letter. So like truthfully, the burnout caught up with me. I think a lot of times, again, when you're in that go lifestyle and you're giving to everybody else, like when you do take a pause, like I did, to travel and see that other culture. And then when I came home, it was like I just collapsed. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I collapsed and I had no energy, and like I wasn't functioning, but like I couldn't see it in that moment. Like I told myself this narrative of like, oh my gosh, I'm lazy. Like I don't like the 9 to 5. Like something's wrong with me. Everybody likes 9 to 5s. And I was also kind of surprised too, because I was someone who always loved working and having a job. You know, like I worked from a young age. I had multiple jobs at times in summers. Like I loved it. Like I loved making money and saving money. And truthfully, I ended up, not that I had a lot of savings anyway anymore as a social worker, because, you know, you're living paycheck to paycheck. But during that time where I couldn't even function, like I really got down to the bottom of my bank account and freaked out and was like, oh my gosh, like I have to get it together.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I ended up being very lucky and like starting to find work. And I ended up kind of freelancing as a social worker, which is weird back then. But I think, you know, more people have those opportunities where I did have a part-time job for an organization that did continuing education for health professionals specializing in multiple sclerosis. So it was really nice. I did like a lot of the program development around continuing education. I got to travel a bit. It was part-time. Ironically, it was the director was also the director of my first internship in grad school at a multiple sclerosis center. So I got it through that connection, which was nice. And it was nice because it was like a different kind of work.
It's all about who
Um,
you know.
yeah, absolutely. And building those relationships. And, you know, then I did pick up other opportunities. I did case management. Again, it's who you know. Like I did case management as a contractor for the National MS Society in New Jersey, which was really cool because I would like drive to the patients' houses and help them navigate some resources and things like that. And then I also did intensive work in home with kids who were struggling with mental health issues. So basically, it was an agency that would assign me cases, and you would see the kids for 2 hours a week in their home. So I could take as many clients as I basically wanted that could fit in my schedule. So I really did work sort of a flexible schedule. You know, I was basically an entrepreneur. I didn't realize it at that time, you know. So that's kind of how I got more into the business thing, and even, you know, having multiple income streams and not feeling like you need to be reliant on seeing a million clients a week.
Right. And I think even just having multiple income streams is another way. Like, so, okay, backtracking to the sabotage, right? So, we don't make money, we're going to be miserable. So, when you come into the field, you are expecting to not make money and to be
Mm-hmm.
miserable. And so, your expectations are so low that and then us as humans, we achieve our standards, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that we must have, we are going to have it. So if we feel like this bare standard just to get a job and be grateful for any kind of pennies they offer you, you're not even going to consider, how am I going to negotiate this job offer? You know,
Mm-hmm.
what else am I going to ask for? Am I going to keep looking for a job that is going to pay me what I need to live the life that I want? Or am I going to look for other opportunities and create other income streams? Because money is not evil. That's a lie that they tell us.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of money as an amplification of who you are. So if you are good and you have good intentions, then you will use your money for good and for good intentions. Um, so I'm wondering, you know, with all of these different stories that we've been told and that we internalize, especially as social workers, you know, what are some ways that we can stop this from happening? Like, what are ways that we could overcome this self-sabotage?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's important to really assess like what we can control or work on. And obviously we can't control everything, right? Like, but, are we even opening ourselves up for opportunities for more, right? Like, are we trying to, and again, like this sucks for us as social workers and as women because we're not supported in doing this, and it's like, are you asking for a raise? Are you showing them all the work you do, right? Like, are you even asking for that opportunity? Or are we kind of in the mindset like where it's like, oh, we get what we get, and that's
Mhm.
it. Um, so I think it's definitely starting to say like, hey, what in this situation can I try to do differently? And I think it's also really important when assessing these like self-sabotages, and a lot of them are just really mindset blocks and learning to look at things in a different way, and not carrying on our stories and experiences with us. So like, family stuff, like what are family beliefs around work, that you've picked up on that you don't even realize. Like, did you see your parents like, working their butts off and saying like you have to work hard for money, and or like that there's never enough money, that kind of thing. So what kind of beliefs did you pick up around that, right? And, I think so much too, like we don't set clear goals for ourselves. It's just kind of like, again, it's like, okay, get this job, whatever. They're in control of how much money I make. Already found out I'm not going to make a lot of money, you know. Um, so I think it's again like really seeing like what can I do differently? How can I change this? And making sure then, when we move on to the next thing, that we don't again just repeat those patterns, that we try different things and we learn to like set specific goals for us and ourselves and really like kind of break down how we can achieve them.
So it sounds like, just to recap, it sounds like one, we need to be aware of what these stories are, how they may be showing up for us. And then two, just be open to other opportunities or figure out how we can fix our situation, what is in our control and what is not in our control, and then set goals from there. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think it's like I think it's like looking at our stories. I think honestly, it's actually like setting goals first, right? Like, what do we really want? Like, do we want a new job? Do we want to, go into our own business? And if we do, like, what do we want that to really look like, right? Like, what do we want the job to look like? What kind of work environment do we want it to have? Things like that. Or, for me, for my business and my clients, like a lot of them are just kind of like, oh, it'd be nice to make this, but like there really is no clear plan. They don't know why they chose that number. A lot of times it's the 100K number, which truthfully, I feel like as business owners, we actually need to make more because taxes and expenses and all that fun stuff take out a big chunk of it. But it seems like so much money compared to what we're getting paid at our jobs, that it seems impossible. So we sort of set a random number, but then we don't really create a plan to go after it. And when you have that goal, like you can start to see some of those like mindset beliefs and blocks that cause us to sabotage, right? So if we already feel like, there's no job out there that's going to meet your needs, like you're probably not going to even really look that well for one, right? Like, are you going to spend time on Indeed? Are you going to research the companies? Are you going to reach out to your personal network, your professional network, and ask them if they know of anything and let them know what you're looking for, right? So that could be like a way that block comes up because you don't really even believe it's out there or possible, so you don't even look for it or go after it.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that so much where people say, "Oh, I want a new job," and I ask them, "What do you want? I'll help you." And they don't know.
Yeah.
And I've seen on the other side too, where I tell my coaching clients, tell me exactly what your dream job is going
Hmm.
to look like. And lo and behold, I shit you not, like within 2, 3 months, they had that ideal job, like the perfect job for them. And it's like once you put it in your mind what you're looking for, then your mind is able to be extra alert to opportunities. It picks up on conversations. You'll catch it on the internet. Like, oh, that sounds exactly like what I'm looking for. But if you don't know what you're looking for, then you're kind of just grasping at anything that comes along.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, it's funny, like one thing I want to touch on is what you said about like the job thing. And I have like actually, sometimes you get tired of hearing your friends say the same thing over and over. And I remember, again, I had like left my job. Once I was still at that miserable job, but my friend was constantly complaining. And I was like, I did a search for her and I was like, here, why don't you apply for this? And sure enough, she got it. Did she ever acknowledge it? No. But like then another friend, it was my coworker, and she was supposed to quit the same time as me. And then she just stayed. Right. And she's like, well, I
Mhm.
can't find this. I can't find this. So I did a search, sent her a thing. She got the job. You know what I mean? So again, it's
Mhm.
just like not even putting that work into it. And, it does become that like sabotage where we can't find it. We can't go after it. We can't ever see it. And I think too, it's hard because we really have blind spots, right? Just like we help our clients with their blind spots, we have them too. And, I know for sure, like investing in coaching myself has helped me so much because I just didn't see things were possible, or it was like, I can't do this. That's that I've tried, kind of stuff. Like I tried that already. It doesn't work. And like sometimes you have to do it again, and you have to have this person just help you tweak little things and point things out to you and point out that story is like you've done for your clients with the jobs. And I see a huge difference even with my clients. Just initially, like a lot of times we go through that like goal setting process, um that I teach them, and suddenly they're like, "Oh wow, I'm actually really close to that." Or, "Oh my gosh, I actually do see how I could reach that." And, they might have not gone after it really, or just kind of missed opportunities because they didn't even realize it was possible.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, that's so powerful. And I thank you for sharing your experience because I feel like you are a perfect example of how you can be a social worker, continue to help other people and make income. I'm a firm believer that income and impact are not two different things. You can have them together. So thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you. And I really do believe like that was one of my blind spots that I had to change, and one of my beliefs where, I really had to change the story around the fact that like if you're making money, it means you're kind of a bad person, right? Like,
Mhm.
because you're taking money from people and that kind of thing. So I really had to work to change the story around that. And I also had to work to change the story where, like, what I really view money is that it's just a tool. Like I can actually do more for others when I can take care of myself and don't have to worry about my bills, and like I can donate more. I can support causes I believe in financially. And again, that's what I like about figuring out how to make more money without having to, again, like only see more one-to-one clients each week, because then I have that time to like volunteer or, do whatever I want, or take on clients who can't afford as much without
Mhm.
me being resentful about it.
Right. Yep, exactly. And I used to think the same thing that if I had money, then it's not right or fair to my clients who are struggling. But that's not true at all. Like what my actions do have
Hmm.
no impact on what they do. So I'm not taking any money away from anybody. I mean, they're printing money like wild right now.
Yeah.
And so there is plenty of money for all of us.
Hmm.
And just having it, it does give you more power. And my ultimate dream, Nicole, is to create my own foundation that goes to help social workers, and I really want to eliminate the barriers of entry into this field because it's so expensive.
Hmm.
So that is my dream and my goal is to create a foundation specifically for social workers. And you got to have money to do that. So
Yeah. And I love that I've seen you talk about that before. And I just love that you're so passionate about that and putting that project into the world.
I'm putting it out there. I don't know how it's going to happen or what it's going to look like.
Well,
I'm
I
putting it
will
out
help
there.
you set the goal for that and create that action plan.
Thank you. I feel like it's my 5-year, 10-year action plan.
You can't make it happen if you don't call it out, right?
It's true. It's true. Was there anything that we should add or that we missed as far as, sabotage and overcoming self-sabotage?
I mean, I think the other thing to just be careful with is like, who are you spending time with? Because again, if we're, at our job or in social work school and we're with other people with these beliefs, you know, one thing I constantly hear, sadly, from, my therapist clients or, even other service providers is like this cruelty almost from other business owners and therapists who are like, you can't do that. You can't charge that much. It's too hard. No one will pay that. So you also have to really be careful about who you're listening to and not taking in their blocks.
It's true because that's their belief. They believe that no one is going to pay them that price. However,
Mhm.
there are people who will pay your prices.
Mhm. And, I'm so passionate about that that I know you're part of my Facebook group, Therapist Entrepreneurs, and I actually have like a no lack mindset rule. Like, if you start telling people on posts that they're not going to make money or they're charging too much or there's people that won't pay that, I will remove you. I don't care. I will call you out on it and I will remove you because there are enough therapist groups like that out there. Like, we need ones that where there are not people doing that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because mental health affects people like no matter your income, your economic level, your background, your ethnicity, your location, mental health affects everybody. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to help people who maybe they are CEOs or business owners or
Mhm.
world leaders or
Mhm.
celebrities or athletes. Like there's nothing wrong wanting to help those people too. We don't only have to help people who are low income,
Right.
and there's a population for you. So I love it. I love the conversation. I love the perspective that you bring. So thank you so much, Nicole. Where can people find you and how can they work with you?
Yeah, well, I definitely recommend that you come to the Therapist Entrepreneurs group on Facebook because there are, newer therapists, there are, people who are still students, and it's just a great place to be surrounded by other therapists and service providers who are committed to building bigger businesses and helping more people. So feel free to join us there. You could just put it in the search bar on Facebook, Therapist Entrepreneurs, and it'll pop up. And then the other thing I would say is, we were talking about goal setting and things like that. And I actually have a free tool called the Consistent Income Generator. So totally sign up for that at NicoleLiloia.com/CIG. And then you'll be part of my email community. So you will be able to connect with me that way and find out how we can work together if that's something that interests you.
Awesome. And these links are in the show notes, so you don't have to like stop driving or whatever. But they're in the show notes. Definitely connect with Nicole. She is a wealth of information. Thank you so much, Nicole, for your time. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks again for having me. I'm so excited we got to talk about this.
Yes, definitely. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Do you want to make your own podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And this is the platform that I use because it makes it so simple to record and distribute your podcast all in one place using your cell phone. What you need to do is download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Social Workers Rise. If you loved it, please open up your iTunes, tap the 5 stars, and leave a short note on why you love listening to the Social Workers Rise podcast. Also, if you want to share it on social media, I absolutely love it. You'll have me fangirling all over you. Take a screenshot and share it and tag me at Social Workers Rise on Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, just want to leave a little bit of legal disclosure here that the information, opinions, and recommendations presented in the Social Workers Rise podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done so at your own risk. This podcast should not be used in place of professional advice, therapy, or clinical supervision. And with that, my friends, I'll talk to you next week.